welcome back to the Particle Accelerator Podcast, where we talk to future-thinking business leaders about how to accelerate their business and grow their team. I'm here with Naim, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Naim Hamdar. I am Chief Revenue Co-founder and Chief Revenue Officer of Payzli.
Nice. What does Payzli do?
So Payzli is a technology company at our core, but we're a payment technology company. So what we are is a wholesale ISO, and we have technology to empower our wholesale ISO and direct to consumer technology as well.
Let's get into some of these tech questions here. What tech trends significantly impacted you or your industry, and how has your company responded?
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's no surprise. I think if you ask anybody who's in technology, they will say AI. And AI could, potentially be damaging for your company, or it could exponentially grow your company, right? And I think, we don't know where that's going to land yet. But we're taking measures today in order to implement AI in a holistic way, right? And so some of the ways that we're doing it is, I'm not a big proponent of like have AI do everything, because I don't think that's a solution, right? Anytime you call any of like the public utilities or the airlines, immediately an AI answers, and I'm immediately turned off, right? And I think we fall short as a society because of our laziness, right? To say, okay, allow AI to do everything, right? I'm not a proponent of that, right? I choose the opposite. What I say is enable AI to make a regular employee a super employee,
Right.
right? How do you do that, right?
Yeah.
Enable AI to take specific tasks, right? Whether it's for a business owner or for their employees, take things off their plate that are, consuming empty energy. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. One of the ways that we're implementing AI is we're um, streamlining our underwriting process or our risk monitoring process, in where like it will bring um, the right tasks front and center, so that our employees could take action, because there has to be a human element to this, right? Other ways that we're implementing AI is, from a customer perspective, right? We're introducing an aspect of AI reviews, right? Because, Paisley POS, for example, is very involved in the beauty services business. So anyone who's in nail salons, hair salons, tattoo studios, small class workshops type things, right, is a perfect, subject for Paisley POS, right? And those types of businesses, when you want to get a haircut, Benjamin, what do? Right? You go to Google, you Google, salons in my area, and the ones that have the most best star ratings, you immediately look at. Then you start going through the star ratings, read the reviews to understand, okay, who should I visit, right? Like, what stylist should I visit at that salon, right? So what we've done is we've taken that and really just streamlined the process in order to generate more reviews for the business, right? And we're not manufacturing reviews, because that does no good, right? But we're assisting in the review process through leveraging AI in order to provide, a much easier way to attain reviews from your customers
Sure.
as a business owner.
Yeah, it makes sense. We're a service company. We're working on a lot of AI implementations, and we're finding that the data collection and the data curation is often really the kind of where a meaty part of the work is. The applying the model or applying the prompt is a little more trivial. Good thing the LLMs are there to integrate with. And then what we're finding is that uh, there's a new strategy, or not a new strategy, but a strategy called vector embedding, where you load all the proprietary data into vector database, and it's like we're able to get an AI product that leverages proprietary data alongside the LLM with no retraining. And so the solutions are pretty inexpensive, and it really comes down to collecting, curating that proprietary data set, and really like investing in that, like figuring out what is the special sauce, what is the thing that is going to prompt the AI to give the proper response to the user query.
100%. 100%. And, other ways we're implementing AI is when we're building code, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're having AI assist our engineers in order to reduce mistakes,
Yeah.
right? Because we're human, right? We're not robots. We're human,
Yeah.
tired.
It's like a cybernetic typing assistant, really, right? Anytime there's typing, the fewer keystrokes the human has to make, the less fat finger opportunities there are. So yeah, we're able to type at the speed of thought, right? Rather than having to, get the thoughts off of our fingers. And that's just super fun. I mean, what a time we live in.
100%. 100%. And part of it is like, okay, as a human being, you have distractions, you have the inner voice, and you have, right? So you're prone to mistakes because not many times are you 100% focused on one thing, right?
Right.
So we can leverage AI in order to bring back our attention to the task, right? And improve the way we're doing our tasks. Then we become superhuman, right? And I think that's the idea. That's how we implement AI the right way that can assist people in order to become superhuman.
Right. Love it. Beyond AI, what are 3 technology innovations you're betting on to drive your business growth?
Yeah. So one of the things we're doing, we just released this last week. We were at a show, WSAA, Western States Association, something. I forget the acronym, but WSAA is like a payment focused show. It happens once a year. And we had a booth there, and we unveiled our real time residual reporting, right? One of the things that, when you're in the payment industry and you're selling payments, right? What many people don't know is like those people who are selling payments, right, typically have to wait, 20 days or more after the month ends for a specific merchant to see what their potential earnings are, right? So what we've unveiled is, we're able to record this on a daily basis, right? And that's an industry first, right? So we're able to take the data because we're a wholesale ISO or an FSP, where we're getting real-time data, and we can run our system in order to generate actual residuals for yesterday's processing. Now, we're not going to pay that on a daily basis because we're not collecting it on a daily basis, right? But if you think of like how innovative that is, right? People who come into this industry, have to wait 20 days after the month end in order to see what they've earned. Well, now with us, they see what's coming, right? On a daily basis. So when you submit an account with us today, they start processing tomorrow. The following day, you're going to have earnings sitting in your bank, right? You're not going to collect it until after the month closes. But that visual, right, is going to allow you to operate with confidence that the money is coming, right? And it's a small thing, but it's huge when it comes to anyone who's selling payments.
Cool. Any other tech trends or technology innovations that you're engaged in?
Yeah, so I mean, we're involved in a lot, right? I think Payzli POS, is a very innovative product for beauty and services businesses. Where just from appointment booking, we've really, really dug in and made that process extremely smooth because, like, think about when you're going, we don't do this, but our wives do, right? When they go to a nail salon, for example. When you go to a nail salon, you may have like an artist that does nail art, and then somebody that's just doing a pedicure. You may have somebody doing their eyebrows. You may have another person massaging, right? So it's a
You mean,
multi-touch.
Naim, you don't get mani-pedis? You don't do that?
I don't. So when you go to a nail salon, for example, it's a multi-touch environment, right? And different people have different skill sets, right? So when you think of an appointment booking from an appointment booking perspective, when your wife or my wife or anyone out there who wants to book an appointment, if they have a specific technician that does their nail art, another technician that does their pedicure, one that does their eyebrows, and one that massages them, right? That's a lot of complication there, right? Because each one of these people have a schedule, right? And you have to find the right time that coordinates with all of those people, right? To meet your needs, right? So what we've been able to do is really streamline that process so that you're not going back and forth and back and forth and, giving up on doing a service or a product in order to just make a specific time, right? It's things like that where, we're innovating because we have the technology today to do that, right? The complicated technology to do that. And,
Right.
When you have a focus, right, and you're focused on a specific use case and you start to dig in, right, not to just create something, but to create the thing, right, that's going to revolutionize that specific task, you
Hmm.
have the tools today to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we're innovating as an organization. We're not we're not going across the board and saying, okay, we want to be the best at everything,
Sure.
right? But we're going to identify specific things where we want to make an impact and we're going deep.
Yeah. Good friend of mine, Greg Alexander, says the riches are in the niches.
100%.
Uh, the
100%.
niches have the riches, right? Either way you want to say it.
And you can have multiple niches, right?
Sure.
Multiple niches. But even within those niches, right, still focus on specific things because there's tons of, salon solutions out there, tons,
Right.
but not one of them does what we do from an appointment booking perspective. Not one of them does what we do from a Google reviews perspective, right? So we could do everything great, but then there's going to be those 2 or 3 key things that we're going to do that no one else does.
Yeah. Really cool. Well, what do you think the most significant gaps between your ambitions are and the realities of today? Like what's slowing you down?
Look, I mean, it's what's slowing me down. Money is always an important aspect, right?
Yeah.
Um, you, you know,
Access to capital is a common answer to this question.
I mean, look, there's really nothing physically stopping you, but it's everything is time, resource, money, right?
Sure.
So if we think about, okay, what would we love to build? I mean, we're looking at RTP, real time payments, right? But that's a completely different task, right? And in order to accomplish many different things, you have to add finances, you have to add resources, and you have to add time, right? So as a technology company, you put your roadmap together well ahead of the start of the year, right? And you say, okay, these things are what I'm focused on. Anything outside of that, I'm not going to focus on at this point, unless I could add more resources. Then I could bring additional solutions, right?
Great.
One of
Well,
the
what did,
scary
mhm.
things right now is like, are we focused on the right thing,
Mm,
right? What could potentially occur that actually diverts our attention elsewhere? And then when that happens, should we keep our attention where it is or should we shift, right?
yeah.
Because things are moving so quick, right? Today, I mean, you could be, uh, 2-man shop in your basement, literally, and build $1 billion organization. If you have the right idea, you put the right resources together, and you take action the right way, right? So, the luxury that you have as a startup today it's such an incredible opportunity. Whereas, an organization, and we're considered, a newer organization still, even till today, right? We have leverage over very large organizations, right? Because they're like a yacht,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they
We're
don't pivot
speed,
as fast. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
We're fast, but then there's like this new futuristic um, machine that just runs circle around everybody. And that's the startup of today, right?
Sure.
So we're that speedboat. We're still able to travel fast, not like the yacht, those very large organizations that have to make minute shifts, right? Our concern is always, and I think it's great because it's an opportunity for the economy, right? It's an opportunity for innovation. But innovation is happening so quick today that you don't know what's coming, right? And
Yeah.
anybody who tells you that they know is a liar.
Yeah. You mentioned roadmaps. What advice can you share for connecting your roadmaps with your overall business strategy? Like, how do you make those determinations? Do you have a system that you use, or like how do you plan?
Yeah, so I mean, it's basic, right? You always have to think of like stakeholders, an extremely important aspect for any business. Like, who is your stakeholder? What are your core values? And what do you want to create based on those two elements, right? If you're just in business to print money, you're on the wrong track, right? Because money comes, the definition of money is through the impact that we make. And if your goal is just money with impact taking, back seat, then you're not going to get it, right? Your solution is not going to have legs to it, right? But if you start with the impact that you want to make, right, and that is based on your stakeholder and your core values, right? I think as long as you have really identified those, now you could build solutions, right? And those solutions has multitude of layers, right? You have to decide based on that stakeholder, what is your optimal need today, or what is their optimal need today? And that needs to be the first thing you put on your road, right? What are the things that, are essential? That goes second, right? What are the things that are would like to have? That goes third, right? And as long as you're addressing these things in a systematic manner, then that's all you can do.
Yeah. What do you think the what do you think the biggest challenge is to maintaining a competitive edge in your industry?
I think it starts with your principles, right? I think it starts with your relentlessness because that's extremely needed in this day and age. Don't be shy to take action. Um, I think relentlessness is uh, you have to have it as an entrepreneur, and if you don't, then you should probably work for someone, right?
Right.
Because the fact of life is the entrepreneur, you're it's like raising a child, right? I mean, think about your relentlessness with your kids, right? When they're born, you're feeding them, you're changing their diaper, they could pee on you, you don't give a shit, right? And it's like you still love them, right? And business is the same way. You're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs, but as long as you are aligned with the mission that of what you're creating, you're gonna enjoy those journeys, whether they're good or they're bad, right? And a reflection of that is like Elon Musk, right? I have a lot of admiration for Elon Musk. And one of the things that he has always done is you have these really significantly big goals, right? And you're on the brink of failure, and you're on the brink of failure, and you say, I'm not going to give up, and you're relentless. And then one day you succeed, and you're the richest man in the world. Why? Not because you were after money. He had the money, right? You have a mission, and that mission requires dedication and relentlessness. And as long as you have those and you're aligned with, what the mission is, like what the end goal is, nothing will stop you.
Well, what lessons have you learned from a failed initiative that didn't deliver expected value?
So I've had a lot of initiatives, right? And, there's not one in particular that, I mean, like initially when we launched point of sale, right? Um, well, when we launched the building of point of sale, we hired a ton of people, right? They were all contractors, and then COVID and a lot of our contractors are out of India, and in those areas they go back to their villages, right? So we kept replacing, like, one would leave, okay, hire another, and then that one would leave, okay, hire another. So at the end of that, we got like crap code, right? So about a year and a half into the process, when we were ready to go to market, what we realized is like, okay, as soon as we get over a specific number of merchants, we're going to have some real problems, right? Now, you have a choice to make. We could have taken that market public and, got into like 3, 4, 5,000 merchants, and then you're going to have some issues, right? Do you move forward and because of money, right? Like, you don't want to keep burning money, right? Do you move forward and take the solutions public, knowing in the back of your mind these issues will occur? Or do you stop and say, the hell with it, start over, right? Because what we're building is not an average solution. What we want to build is a best in class solution, right? So in the eyes of many, that would be considered a failure, right? But for me, that really wasn't a failure. It was an opportunity to see things in a different way, right? It's an opportunity to revisit your principles and understand why you're in business, right? It's an opportunity to reassess how you should build the code. So what we ended up doing is we brought an internal team. We hired 27 developers internally. We started the process over. We didn't start from scratch because we had some stuff still that could be reused, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the end result of that is, we created a process for building technology that is best in class, right? Our sprint cycles, we were at a 1 week sprint cycle, which
Sure.
is unheard of, right? We slowed it down a bit. Now we're on a 2 week sprint cycle just because we're building code so fast, right? But we wouldn't have gotten there had it not been for the failure, right? So failures can be viewed in two ways. One is, yeah, I failed. Well, what the hell is that going to do for you, right? Or you could see why you failed and correct it so that you don't make that same mistake again, and then you're better off because. So to me, a failure is still a success because of the way I choose to see it.
Right. Understood. Cool. Most people don't know what ISO means. Can you define that acronym?
Sure. There are 3 different levels. So when you're in the payment business, you're either a partner of an ISO, a retail ISO, which means you brand yourself, or a wholesale ISO. So what we
Okay.
happen to be is a wholesale ISO, where we do all of our underwriting, risk monitoring in-house, and we're registered with 2 different banks to do that.
Cool. Yeah. I also noticed, like, for the big fans of Clover, know a few people there. Looks like for equipment, you also do Clover leasing, which is really cool.
We do.
Um,
So today we have a retail environment where somebody else does our underwriting on the Fiserv side. That's who uh, owns Clover. But we
mhm.
are setting up our Fiserv bins, which will be stood up at the end of the year. We'll be doing our own underwriting and risk monitoring for Fiserv as well.
Sure. I've done a lot of work with Stripe. How do you guys differentiate?
So Stripe is predominantly a payment gateway. And what Stripe has been essentially good at with their gateway is integrations, right? So when you think, so if you're a point of sale company, you're looking for quick integration, usually you would go to somebody like Stripe because they've really streamlined their SDKs in order to have you integrate with ease, minimum code. Um, we also have launched Payzli Transact in association in partnership with Visa that allows for very similar type of integrations.
Okay, cool. Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to get to know you. The question I used to do that is, what was your first job? Like for me, it was a paper route, uh, and yeah, that's how I made my first dollar delivering the paper. How did you make your first dollar?
So it's funny. I came to this country at the age of 8, and I immediately I saw opportunity everywhere. We lived in Boston, Massachusetts at the time. And one thing I noticed is there's a lot of grass. And so what I used to do is I made friends with the neighbors and all the kids in the neighborhood. So I'd rally them all together. There was about like 7 of us, including my brothers. And we would go around door to door asking neighbors to cut their grass and mow their
Yep,
lawn and so on. And I was kind of like the quarterback, coordinating everything.
sure.
I would settle with the homeowner. I mean, at the time it was like $10, and we would split it up amongst each other. But if you do 3 to 4, homes within a weekend, now you can buy some candy for school. And then what I used to do with my money, however, is I used to go buy candy and resell it at the store. So I used to
Uh,
make even more money, right? So I used it as an investment. I didn't realize I was doing this at an early age, but I had the entrepreneurial spirit.
yeah, love it. Same, very similar story here. What was a toy or hobby that you had as a child that inspired what you do career-wise today?
I was always into soccer. So I loved soccer, and I like Bruce Lee a lot, right? And it's funny, like when you think of Bruce Lee is not known to be like a motivator of sorts, but if you read kind of his quotes throughout his history, right, it's very very motivational. And I still have quotes today, that, like be like water, right? That transcends time and space, right? So he was always a hero of mine. I just love the way that he was fearless, and you have to have an element of fearlessness when you go into entrepreneurship, because it's a scary venture, right?
For
Most
sure.
people don't take that venture. And then
Yeah.
soccer to me has always been such a great sport because it's not one person that will win the game, right? It's a combination of people. So I could be the best player in the world, but put me on a team with 10 horrible players, I'm going to get destroyed, right?
Hmm.
So it's that camaraderie, that teammate, that spirit of working together, really works well for business. And business owners who do that well succeed.
Right. Love it. Love it. What was your favorite and least favorite course in school?
Well, least favorite. I loved anything English, right? Because English was not my first language. Um, and I really thrived in those classes because I took time and attention and really focused in on those. And on the opposite spectrum, mathematics and geometry and all of that good stuff, I was so far ahead when I got to this country that I kind of, shied away from it because I thought I knew everything. Um, and because of that, it made it not interesting, right? And I ended up falling behind in those subjects, and then I had to re-up and really get engaged. But I like geography. That was always history. Those were always great subjects for me because you can learn so much from the past, and it allows you to position yourself for future success, right? Because the past is a reflection of us learning from somebody else's mistakes or victories, right?
Right.
And if you implement those lessons the right way, it allows you to succeed in life.
Yeah. Awesome. What quote from a famous person lives in your mind rent free? You mentioned Bruce Lee, some Bruce Lee quotes. Is there any other famous person, or even like what's your favorite Bruce Lee quote? Any
Yeah,
quote from a famous person?
so my favorite quote of all time, and I have a plaque of this here somewhere. So are you able to see this?
Yeah,
So wait, that's not the right one. It's right here. So
that quote for the folks that are on audio only, that plaque
yeah,
said something around that. It's one thing to be a boss; it's another thing to be a mentor.
yeah, but that's not the quote. So the quote that really resonates with me is, "I'm not who you think I am. I'm not sorry. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am."
I am who you think. Okay, okay,
Right.
yeah.
So so
There's the yeah,
so what that resembles is like who we are on the inside is just a reflection of what people see. And that reflection of what people see comes back to us. And that's how we operate. Right. So we initiate, right? People reflect, and then we think that that's who we are.
very cool.
It's really deep when you think about it. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think.
Hmm. There's this unconscious to conscious, or like there's this quadrum of things that it's like things that other people see, like known to me, known to you, unknown to me, but known to you, right? So it's a four box,
Yep.
and in the four box, it's the things that I know about myself are in a row, and the things that you know about me are in a column. So the intersection is that there are things that we both know about each other, like immutable characteristics.
Yep.
You know my hair is brown. I know my hair is brown. Those things are very obvious. But then in the lower quadrant, there's things that are unknown to you and unknown to me. Basically they're my hidden potential.
Yes.
And what the idea is that if I'm learning more things about myself and you're learning more things about me, and we do that through feedback, honest communication about each other, then we unlock hidden potential. And I
100%.
think this is really cool. So the
100%. And look, I could speak about this for days, right? Because I had a mentor, Bob Proctor, who I did a year-long mentorship with. And I became aware of so many things, like minute detail. And I'll give you a quick story. In my early days of my business, I took a large sum of money and I put it in a bank account that out of sight, out of mind. And I told myself, I'm like, if I ever fail, this money is how I will recreate myself. Right. So, I was growing my business and, I plateaued for a while and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm like pushing, 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 and I couldn't break through this specific barrier. Right. So when I was in conversation with Bob Proctor, um, he said something and it just sparked something in my mind. I'm like, the money I have hidden. I'm like, you know what? I'm taking that money. And it was nothing that he said, right? Well, it was something that he said, but I didn't really tell him about that story, right? That I took money
right.
and I put it away, right? So immediately, I recognized that, at times in life, we take certain actions. And when we take those actions, we think that it's a safety, right? But in reality, what it's doing is it's an anchor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So immediately I took that money and I put it in land, right? It's an investment now, right? And I had no safety net. So I was exposed, right?
Sure.
And from that moment on, within 1 year, I doubled my business.
Yeah, it's great.
Now, is that like a coincidence? Maybe, right? But here's the thing that I know. If you're a speedboat right? You're the fastest speedboat on earth, but you have an anchor, and that anchor is made for yachts. How fast would you go? Not
Hmm.
very fast.
Yeah.
So you have to pull that huge anchor, right? But as soon as I released that anchor, I was able to just maneuver around things and go as fast as I wanted, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
Sometimes,
There's
yeah,
a
sometimes
book
I'm
popular
anchored.
right now called Burn the Boats, right?
Yeah.
It's the same concept.
Yeah. Sometimes we have anchors that we put for ourselves that we think is a safety net, but in reality, it stunts our growth.
Hmm. Yeah, there's some common business term like no plan B, burn the boats. These are been that lesson has been talked about a lot. That like the hunger and the drive is really what makes the success. Not as much the intention is more powerful than the mechanism. So a lot of times internally we talk about like what is your intention? Because if you have a clear intention, you have a lot of clarity around it. There's the mechanism will determine itself. Like we'll figure out how to get to the goal, but do we really know what the goal is? And that anchor that you're talking about is really it causes us to focus on the mechanism too much, the methodology too much, and in many cases it prevents action.
Well, 100%. And Benjamin, I'll tell you another belief of mine is, the human experiment, right? The odds of a human being coming into this world is so astronomically low that nothing else in life we could do can compare to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
My personal belief is we chose to come. We chose to be here because we had a choice not to be here, right? And live in a state of bliss, right? But we chose, we make the decision to come into this world, knowing the struggles, knowing the obligations, knowing the potential of failure, right? Because we have powers within us that we're not awakened to, right? So the fact that we were able to make that mission to Earth, right, is a symbol of what we can create here. But when we come here, we're constantly fed this, um, negativity, right? You can't do this. I mean, think about a kid, right? My own kids, right? When they're about to go into danger, I'm like, no, no, you can't do that, right? As opposed to, me stopping and saying, okay, how can I teach them to still have that drive, but to not hurt themselves along the way, right? And these are things that we have to be conscious of, right?
Yeah, I think most amputees will tell you that the loss of the limb is not the worst part of it. It's the limitations that you put on yourself because of the loss of the limb. Those are
Yes.
far worse than the actual loss of the limb itself.
And they
My
always
son,
they feel like that limb is still there.
yeah,
Just
my son broke his arm twice. He doesn't have full rotation of his wrist. We give him a lot of crap for it. Like, this social media guy that does the two hands, the kind of he does it sideways. So now in the house, if we want to go, obviously we do it with one hand vertically and one hand flat, right? And we kind of give him some crap about it, just really to signify like that it's not, that this inability to rotate your hand completely flat, like palms up, he can't do, but it's like more worse the limitation that he might impose on himself than the fact that he can't rotate his hand. There's
absolutely.
literally nothing I've seen him not be able to do.
I mean, absolutely. Like there's, I was at a show. I'm part of Entrepreneur's organization, and we bring in speakers. And we brought in a speaker with no hands, right? He's got like a half a limb
Mm-hmm,
and no
mm-hmm.
legs. And
Yeah,
this
I've seen that
is
guy.
a goddamn powerhouse, man.
Yeah,
Powerhouse, right? Like he's working out. He's speaking on the largest stages on earth with Tony Robbins, right? How
yeah,
could he do that missing his limbs? And then you think to yourself, I'm like, I'm so lucky. Like I have health, I have my limbs. site, I have all these things. What the hell do I have to complain about? Nothing.
Sure.
Right? Just
Yep.
get up and do something. Take action.
Cool. Well, if people like what you've had to share today, how should they connect with you?
Yeah, I think that I'm very active on LinkedIn. Not a big proponent of social media, but I am active on LinkedIn. You can find me Naim, Naim Hamdar. You can come to our website and look me up there as well, payzli.com. Those are probably the best two methods to find me.
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome discussing with you, and congrats on all your accomplishments. Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate it.